Howdy everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be covering an update on my spreadsheet for the DRIP BUSD garden on the animal farm. I'm going to cover the new feature first, and then I'll give a quick overview of the spreadsheet again, what these numbers mean in case you are finding it for the first time. So the only change I made was in regard to gas prices. When I was trying to multiply it by the number of plants, it got a little tricky because you could be compounding any number of times a day. So here it is right here. You're going to change C2 to the number that you're compounding in a day. So if you're actually fitting in, say, 6 compounds a day, and then I'm estimating that my gas is about 9 cents per transaction. I2 is the gas price. You can make that 9 cents there, and this is actually going to read the same all the way down, obviously, if you're compounding the same amount per day. Now, if you know that you're going to be compounding more frequently, say on day 100, and you're trying to look out that far, it's as simple as changing that here and saying, you know what, or if you're going to compound less, say, I'm going to compound 3 times a day when I get down there, and then you can take a quick glance and say, oh, that's really not that much in totality versus how much I'm going to be potentially making that day. So all that being said, let's cover this spreadsheet again. These are just some random numbers up here that may not be accurate. We're about to make them accurate, and I'll show you how to do that for a rough estimate. Now, I say rough estimate because this compounding, this plants per day, is actually only considering if you were compounding once per day. Now, we know that if we were doing a 3, 4, 5, maybe you're compounding 8 times a day. Every time you compound, those plants that were sitting there are now making seeds. So this plants per day number is actually going to be different. You're going to have way more plants than that if you're compounding more than once a day. This compound interest type calculation is actually going to be quicker than this. So just keep that in mind. That's why this is a rough estimate. You'll also notice that when I back this back into per seed, which none of the other calculators seem to really do, I've backed us into per seed amounts to get a more accurate way to see how much daily I'm receiving, because my original intention was that I wanted to see the decimal amount here as well, because just as an example, I'm creating 17.567 plants per day, and it'd be more accurate to reflect that, but I went with more of a rough estimate, so that's why these are all in whole numbers. And even with the per seed, this amount here is going to be slightly off from the other calculator I'm using, but that's perfectly fine. That's why this is a rough estimate. Now, there is a instruction area right here that some people seem to be missing. It's basically covered what else I've already said, but there's a quick instruction area there in case you forget. Now, if you want to edit this spreadsheet to use it as your own, you'll go to File and Make a Copy, and that will prompt you to make a copy of this for yourself. You can also find the link to this spreadsheet. By the way, you have to do this to be able to edit the sheet. You'll also find a link to this spreadsheet in the description. I make sure to include that on these update videos. And all I have updated is the gas. So if you have already been using this, you could probably jump off the video now. Nothing else is of interest. But where am I getting these numbers from? Where do they come from? Where do they go? So I've been using the DRIP Garden Scheduler. And I gave the guy a donation because I think it's worth it. This is the main one I use. It's just I've been using it since day one. So this is the link to this is in the description as well. But it's I think drip-scan.netlify.app/garden. But anyway, the link is in the description. There's also dripviewer.com, which has similar information and even more information. And then there's one, I believe, that's formulate.finance/garden, but I believe I have that in the description as well. So here's where I'm getting these numbers. This 25.8192 goes here. And that's the estimate of the LP token value, which is right here. This is our DRIP/BUSD token. And then this right here is the current amount of LP we are receiving per 2.592 million seeds, which is how much a plant costs. Right now it's 0.067. So we're getting that amount of LP per a whole plant's worth of seeds. And that's where I'm getting this per seed amount and multiplying out for the daily. Now I don't have 496 anymore. I have 527 plants. So I have 527 plants. And this is where I got that previous number, that 0.067. So 527 plants. I will pop that into my day 1. 3039. You can see we're very close to that 3033. This is probably more accurate than mine. I'm just doing a very rough estimate. So you can see we're at 3039. Now, here are all the things to keep in mind on this spreadsheet if you're using it to see how much you can make in a month or 2 months or however far down the line. The first thing is that this is a daily amount. Now, we know based on, I made previous videos about this as well, but based on what the developer has said, you are being judged in the system based on the average user of the game. So if the average user compounds way more than you do, you're not going to make your full 3.3% that you could be making in returns a day on your plant value. So, and we don't mean compounding as in the number of times of compounding. I've been doing a little experiment on that. It's not that. It's more of a ratio, it seems to be. So if you compound all week and harvest one day, that should be fine. You should outpace it. I'm going to try harvesting 2 days, like Saturday and Sunday, once I have enough daily that I feel like I can actually harvest. We've been seeing a downturn on the LP value on the token, so that's why a lot of us haven't been harvesting. We're just compounding. But that penalizing thing that's kind of built in is that you do fall behind. You fall behind. If you were to harvest every day of a week, you'd fall behind because there is a decay. And that's where this comes in, by the way, is this percent of decay. We don't actually know what this is. Now, what I mean by that is we don't know the actual formula exactly. It's based on the time that the garden has been running. So once a day, it goes down, I think, about 1%. And then also, there's some calculations based on the contract balance. Is the contract balance at an all-time high? And we can see that on that scheduler or the main drip garden page as well on the Animal Farm website. Is the balance going up? Is it at an all-time high? And so those are two of the main things that affect this. I'm putting it at about 1.5% for now. Now, people have been seeing a much larger decay, or that's what they think, because it's this LP token value, because DRIP had been dropping for about a month. You can see it looks like we're hitting an upward spike. We're going to hopefully see an uptrend again. We can't guarantee that. It may drop past this resistance and go back down to these 20s before it comes back up. I'm pretty bullish on it coming up. You may not be. That's up to your thinking. But you have to make your own opinions on that. Do your own research. Look at the charts, obviously. But we don't know what this decay is. In the short term, it's been higher because of that fall. But I would say on average, it's about 1.5, 1.6, somewhere in there. And this is our LP estimate. And so if we jump in, say I'm compounding once a day on this rough calculation, 30 days from now, I should be at about 48, 49. Now, I hope that DRIP swings back up by then. And when it was closer to its all-time high, it was 39, it was 40 on the LP. But let's say it even goes up to, say, 34. I'm just picking a number here. At 30 days, I'm actually at 63 now. So you can see how that kind of changes things. This matters, and then this percent of decay matters. So we're going to see those kind of affect things. I think that the rate at which this LP per plant is dropping, you'll see it stall out, or you'll see it even reverse uptick a little bit if DRIP has a massive, rapid upswing like we would like it to have. Then you'll see this reverse, or it'll just delay. It'll just kind of hover, and it won't decay as quick. We're probably still going to see that 1% decay a day. I don't know if we can get past that, but we may not notice it if the LP swings up with DRIP. But yeah, so this is a very rough calculator, and you can just use this to kind of plot how far out you would have to be. And remember that you're only changing those numbers at the top, and then we're glancing at whatever number of days. So if we did go back to that all-time high and we were at, say, like 41 LP, even from where we're starting right now, well, if you want to look at day 100, you change that to the LP you think it will be, and you skip down to day 100 and say, oh, that's my how much per day. Remember, you will have way more plants than that if you are compounding multiple times a day, especially at these higher numbers where I'm saying, oh, what if I added 306 plants to the next day? That's not what would happen, because every 30 plants adds another plant per day, right? So that you can see how that multiplication works if I were to compound every 30 plants, especially if I hit some of those early morning ones. Well, I would have probably already made a whole extra plant to add to the next row, to the next day. So you can see how that stacks up. This is going to compound a lot quicker than what I'm showing here, but this is a very good rough estimate, especially if you don't have a very large number of plants. So all that being said, I'll go ahead and quit my rambling. This is just a very rough estimate of the drip garden and kind of projections as to how quickly you could be making more funds, more money. I have definitely seen this number click upward before in my first couple weeks when I was in the garden before this rapid decline on drip. So we really have to see how that works. We'll have to see when drip swings back up, which I'm hoping it will still, to see if you know there may be a lot less decay to the point of just stalling or even reversing. And I don't know that we've seen, at least most of us who have been in the garden at this point in time, we haven't seen a large upward swing like that. At least I haven't, so I can't give you direct, correlation as to what that looks like. We do know that as this drip BUSD is coming back up, that the dollar amount per plant and thus per seed is going up, and so your reward amount in total will be going up, but we just aren't sure about how this will be affected directly if there's a rapid upswing. But I am positive, I am bullish for this system. I'm still compounding multiple times a day. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. If you appreciate the content, I appreciate likes and subscribes. And I wish you all the best, whatever time of day it is there. You have a great one. And yeah, thanks for watching.